Generally expect to die, karmically expect to die before you even get half of those, and expect to run out if you don't bring enough. So basically, it's just kind of karmic. All right. So do I have any questions about Dictors so far? And just Dictor mechanics, Dictor bubbles.
You might want to go over. Okay, when you guys are lining up for a pull bubble like you just did, it helps to be really, really zoomed out. And if you don't have brackets on, if you hold the Alt key, it will put brackets around your ship.
So generally, here's I'm just going to show you a quick thing. Here's a good lineup with Gavin. I'm going to go about 50k-ish behind the gate. I'm going to show you, like, if you click on Gavin's ship, click on my bracket, and then generally once you get, you don't want to be doing this with your micro-warp drive on the entire time. Once you get closer, you want to definitely be scooting slowly. Like, I can almost do this just coasting at this point. But generally, yeah, once the, you see, as you can see from Gavin here, I need to go down a little bit. I'm adjusting, making sure I don't get too far from the gate. Making sure I don't get too far. With a big fleet like this, I could just drop a bubble and have you guys burn to the edge of it and drop cans and feel pretty confident that you guys will decloak whatever comes in there. All right, so that's the basics of Dictor bubble mechanics, and with that, I'm going to go over running some actual gate camps and stuff. So, if you could all pile up on the gate, please. Go ahead, total. Sure. You can, but unfortunately, when you launch that thing, you have to at least get away from the sphere. You have to at least get 2k from the bubble that you just launched. So if you're already micro-warp driving and you drop your bubble, within a second you could pretty much cloak. If you're stationary and you drop a bubble, you're going to have to get up to speed and get in there. You're pretty vulnerable. Chances are you're going to get locked, and you're just going to have to worry about burning out and warping off. Oh, one more thing about Dictor bubbles, they are static. This bubble will not move around, and all it will do is prevent warps, and it will catch people out of warp. It does no form of heavy tackle. There's no such thing as a web bubble or a scram bubble or anything. They can still light their micro-warp drives and burn all the way around in there all they want. Okay, so a couple
one more thing. You mentioned aggression. When you drop that bubble, you were kind of unclear. When you drop the bubble, you are aggressed for 60 seconds. Does not matter.
Right. And if someone attempts to warp inside your bubble, catching them out of warp will not aggress them, but trying to warp while you're inside the bubble, be a friend or foe or yourself, you will restart the aggression timer.
Yep.
Okay, so Pussy Galore is neutral, and she's going to be jumping in a second.
You want me to try and catch her?
Another fun thing about bubble mechanics. If you catch someone out of warp, or if you catch someone attempting to warp, it will also stop their ship. If you scram or point somebody and they're attempting to warp, it will also stop a ship. It will slow them down from where they were if they weren't attempting to actually align or their micro-warp drive wasn't on. So fun little mechanic here. Here comes Pussy. La-di-da, just decloaking. I'm trying to warp. Go ahead and drop some bubbles. I'm warping. Oh, I just stopped. Go ahead and burn out for me. Go ahead and decloak. Again, don't kill her, but just go ahead and tackle her. Again, back of the hand only. Only touch with the back of the hand. There you go, got me. As long as you get within 2k, chances are he's going to get decloaked. And I'm pretty much wasted at this point. Okay, you can release tackle, and let me get back to the gate. We're going to do this again. I'm going to go over Hick bubbles and anchor bubbles in a second, but there's some very important gate camping things, mechanics and things we need to go over first too.
When you guys are camping a bubble like that, if nobody calls, if it's apparently, if you're in a small group and nobody calls blue gate fire or nobody tells you they're jumping in, as soon as that gate flashes, 9 times out of 10, just bubble the damn thing. Bigger fleets are different.
I'll go over that stuff in a sec. 1 second.
Okay.
All right, here she comes in again. Basically, space, to answer his question, so to set up, you warp from the point you expect targets to warp from, then burn past the gate. You don't have to do it specifically from that spot, but as long as you know what celestial they're coming from, you can put your ship in that direction. And then you can bubble up appropriately. You don't have to bounce off celestial to do it. You just need to know where they're coming from and put your ship in the right direction. Alright, here comes Pussy again. Okay, these bubbles are up for probably another 30 seconds, roughly. Again, all these bubbles will be up for 20 seconds, or 2 minutes, I'm sorry. These bubbles will be up for 2 minutes. This is another reason why extra bubbles is good to have. But this is a very common mistake that people make, is what you guys just what you guys took advantage of. I'm not going to say exploit because it's very well known, and it's not labeled as an exploit. It's just a common mistake that people make, not knowing the mechanics. Just basically, I'm coming in, I don't see a bubble, I'm thinking I can get away, and next thing you know, the bubble stopped my warp, it stopped my velocity, and meanwhile, all of you guys are burning in the same direction towards me, and by the time I realize what's going on, you probably decloaked me and pointed me by then. Very common thing. It actually gets a lot more cloakers than you think. It's one of my favorite things to do in the game. One thing to note, very important thing that you could, if you look at the gate right now, 20K, you'll notice that a bubble was dropped on one side of the gate. It was maybe about 1K off. Technically, it said that he was at 0 on the gate. However, look how it's not exactly covering every single spot. When you are a bubbler pilot, you are literally on top of the gate. You're touching the gate. You are caressing it gently. You're trying to get inside it, basically. This gate is a woman, and you need to treat it nicely, and you need to try and do whatever you can to get inside it, if it lets you. So basically, get next to the gate, and
FC,
you basically will ensure you always have coverage.
I need to go for cigarette.
All right, once again, go for the decloak. Once again, because the control space does not point your ship in the direction it needs to go, using or mashing, holding and mashing W, A, R, things that make you orbit, keep at range, approach, things like that that will basically point your ship in the same direction will work. Okay, you guys just barely missed me that time. Just barely. I was like 3,400 meters. Very close, very good job, but just missed me barely. As you can, I'm going to decloak here. You can see just how close you were. Not bad, not bad. One thing that's important to note, as you're for actually running a gate camp and attempting to decloak, as you're trying to attempt to decloak, one thing you need to be doing, of course you got to be mindful for bombs, obviously, but generally having your ship stationary with your micro warp drive on and ready to burn in any direction is the way you need to be for anybody trying to do it. The bubbler itself can work on that as well, but if he has people covering that job for him, their main job is to get the bubble up and make sure that they just don't warp off before the decloak happens. So your main focus is the bubble. Everybody else's is to do that. If you can do that in tandem with it, and there's some other things I'll show you. The next one's going to be a little trickier. It's probably going to be the same thing where I'm actually going to dodge you, but if you are persistent, you will get me. With a little bit of coordination, let's just say Gavin's going to drop the first bubble and everybody else will hold their bubble. So basically, you're going to burn. You're going to maybe get 10K or something like that, and then you're going to drop more bubbles. So you're going to get a lot more coverage. And you're going to get a lot more time because I'm still going to be in the bubble. So yeah, again, we're calling Gavin's going to bubble. I say, yeah, okay, I'll drop the first bubble. You guys will focus on doing the rest of the bubbles. Okay? You can see that my having the velocity column is also extremely helpful on this. You can tell that my velocity did not drop. Ooh, nice decloak.
You're welcome.
Holy shit, look at that. You can generally tell if you caught somebody if their velocity goes from almost to warp speed to slowly decreasing as if they just stopped their ship. You can generally tell if you pulled that off based on velocity. You can also tell if they lit their micro warp drive. Another part I didn't mention is that having your ship, being zoomed in on your ship, and actually knowing which way your ship is facing. Like your ship is going to, your ship, when you first start mashing towards it, it's going to start pointing the ship in the direction, it's going to start burning towards it. And then once he cloaks, you lose, the game will lose, your ship will lose the target, and then it's going to start leveling off, going where you were. But knowing which way you started pointing is extremely important to actually following up, basically. Just at least getting your ship to point in the right direction and then following up with that is really critical, especially for the harder things. All right, so you notice on that one, nice bubble coverage there. 3 layers of bubbles right there. Even as much as 5 seconds later, just getting 10K out, dropping the bubble, not even having to wait for the decloak, but just making sure that you get, knowing that I'm out in that direction, you're going to buy yourself a lot more time to get the decloak, because I have to get through even more bubblage. Okay, here comes Pussy one more time. And now I'm going to show the defensive method of actually trying to get through these camps. So you guys are calling friendly gate act, blah, blah, blah. I'm the random guy coming in here. This is it. This is how you basically burn through camp from my perspective, from jumping it. You can do this with a recon. You can do this with just about anything with a cloak. Hell, most people with improved cloaks can also pull this off with some luck too. So as I see it here, I see you guys on top of the gate. I got bubbles up. I am basically straight up on the gate. I'm showing that there's a ton of fucking bubbles. If I stick around on gate, I'm going to die. I've got about 30 seconds left of cloak here. I'm still, I'm just kind of assessing the situation. I'm finding a good align point for me. In this case, the sun looks pretty tasty. It's a good, safe alignment for me. That's not going to get me rebubbled. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to cloak. I'm going to hit my micro warp drive. I am not going to warp. I'm going to hit my micro warp drive, and I'm going to fucking burn the hell out of here. I make sure that I turn my cloak on first, and I just derped that because I hit my cloak twice. You guys are going to get me. Yep, you got me locked. And there comes the point. Okay. So I derp that one, as I derp Helios's often. So we're going to get back here, go ahead and release tackle, and we're going to do it again.
Does anybody have a web with them?
Doesn't matter.
Well, I was going to show the other way of getting through these. Because I'm fast enough to do it.
There's other things you can do. Simply crashing gate generally will keep you alive. If you know when to time your micro warp drive, which is immediately. Having your stuff preheated and hitting it the second you decloak, mashing that thing is also essential for the game.
Also, making sure that you wait out your timer. If you immediately crash that gate, you're going to bounce. It's just going to happen.
Here she comes again. Again, from my perspective, I'm showing you what I see and how I'm going to try and get through it. Of course, obviously, making sure I don't turn my cloak off a second time is important. So yeah, here we go. Well, we've established that Gavin will drop the first bubble. If this bubble happens to drop, one thing that's important to note is that these things are on 2-minute timers. But hey, if you're running a constant gate camp and you got constant traffic, there's going to be times where your bubble drops and you're not quite paying attention. So knowing when to put the bubble back up is pretty important. So I'm noticing here there's a bubble towards planet 1 in the sun, so that's not a good align for me. Planet 4 to the right, planet 6 to the left, planet 1 to the left. They're all looking like pretty decent spots. One thing I need to avoid right here, by the way, I'm pretty much towards the sun. One thing I need to avoid is burning in a straight line away from the gate. I need to do as much of a 90-degree angle as physically possible because it'll help you shoot right past me. Otherwise, you'll just overtake me because you're going the same direction and faster. You're going to get me every time. All right, here we go. Wish myself some luck, and off I go. I chose planet 1 because that's the best angle. It's going to get me the best angle. There's nothing really good here at all. Actually, there are some, like planet 7 was a great one.
You guys missed him.
Ooh, oh, not by much though. Garrick was 2,600 meters, not bad. And I'm still in bubbles, so good follow-up bubbling. So generally a pilot that's trying to hang around against guys like, for example, Stain Empire, who are fabulously good at following up and getting the decloak, they will... Yeah, I'm still in bubbles, by the way, just so you know. That's very good bubbling. That's very good conserving of the bubbles right there. Very nice. I'm still in a bubble. I just got out of the bubble, finally. Just out of the bubble. Here's where I was. That was extremely risky for me to be on grid as much as I was. There was, as a note, a better one for me. If you look towards behind the sun, you got planet 3 looks good. You got planet 5 was good. Those are all 90-degree or more angles. Those are all good. Those will make sure you shoot right past me instead of overtake me. Because I just got purely lucky. Garrick was literally 600 meters away, and that's not much. So, good job. Good follow-ups. Good follow-ups. Do a couple more. And I'm also going to show you a slightly more advanced one.